Up next, we have the leader's address. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our leader and the next Chief Minister of Gibraltar, Miss Marlene Hassan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here tonight. It fills me with so much warmth, and it also makes me realize that becoming an independent member of parliament was the best thing I ever did. Because when I became an independent member of parliament, it afforded me the privilege to realize how tribal politics was in Gibraltar, how two-sided and how binary everything was. If one side says black, the other one side says white. If one side says potato, the other side says potato. And that is how it kept going on and on and on, like a ping pong match. And I realized that there was more to give, and there was more to have had in terms of engaging people in the democratic process. So I sat there as an objective voice, a voice that would give credit where credit was due, and that would criticize and offer solutions where they were needed. I found that that was a valuable place to be for the people of Gibraltar. But I also realized that we needed more of a platform in order to engage people in a structured way, to let people know that they should be engaged and that they had a place to go. But I didn't assume that Gibraltar needed another party. You know, we have the GSLP, the Liberals, the GSD, the PDP, the poo-poo-poo, and there were just so many parties everywhere. All I wanted to do was serve my community and let everybody know that they had a genuine place to go with a structure that cared about their problems, their issues, and their concerns. So, with a few of my wonderful executives that are my executive today, I cobbled them together and pulled them by their arms and convinced them to form a civil society platform, a platform that would be truly representative of people at a grassroots level, that would engage people no matter who you voted for, no matter what party you wanted, no matter who your mother and your grandfather told you had to support. People who could just come to speak and to engage with the issues of the day. It didn't matter what their party allegiances were. So we started off with discussions in order to obviously tackle the main issues of the day. And we started off with the environment debate, which, as you've seen this evening, is a massive core principle for us to follow. And we had a panel where we had an environmental NGO, where we had a scientist from the University of Cádiz, and where we had an environmental, a political lobbyist for Green Agenda who was and still is a member of the Liberal Party. And with this panel, we engaged many people who brought out their issues, their concerns, and we collated that research and that feedback, and I presented it as a motion in my capacity as an independent member of Parliament to the Gibraltar Parliament. When that happened, we had an exhaustive debate at the Parliament, and the findings were acknowledged by the government, and to this day are being discussed and acted upon. So we did the same thing with issues of gender. We had a debate on gender issues, and we had another one as well with on education, with students, teachers, educationalists. And as we did more debates and we did live feeds, we found that they were being watched by thousands of people and attended by hundreds of people. So we could see and we could sense that there was an appetite for engagement. I mean, even tonight, I see new faces. I see people who've never attended political AGMs. And that is really sad, because people have been disengaged from the political process, which is your process. It is your voice. The word democracy comes from ancient Greece. It means demos kratos, the voice of the people. It was important for us to make sure that every voice mattered. And as the movement evolved and we knew that the general election was looming, and people were telling us that there was an appetite for a new party, we decided, as we had promised, to do a vote for the movement and see if they wanted to migrate into a party status. And we got an overwhelming result for such a transition. And this is why we are here today. So we are genuinely here today because of you. We are genuinely a party by the people, for the people, not to satisfy one person's ego because they need to be somewhere where they feel they belong. So I want to thank you for making this happen, because it wouldn't have happened without your mandate. Now, you can ask us, who are we? I'll tell you who we are. We are mothers, fathers, lawyers, bankers, business people, graphic artists, photographers. We are people, we are a representative cocktail of you. We are conviction-driven, hard-working, honest individuals that are here for the right reasons. We are also the only party, according to recent polls, that are on the way up. The others are on the way down. What do we stand for? What does Together Gibraltar stand for? Together Gibraltar is an inclusive platform for inclusive people. Together Gibraltar will not be dominated by one single interest group. And that doesn't mean that we will shun any other middle-aged white lawyers. You can come in, you're welcome. We just won't have 20 of you. Just like we wouldn't have 20 nurses, 20 doctors, or 20 teachers, because that would not be truly representative, and that would not provide the diversity that Parliament would need to genuinely make changes and transmit people's concerns and everyday grievances so that we can make genuine change. If you are black or white, Together Gibraltar is for you. If you are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, Together Gibraltar is for you. If you are Muslim, Hindu, Christian, or Jewish, Together Gibraltar is for you. If you're a believer or an atheist, Together Gibraltar is for you. Together Gibraltar stands for genuine economic opportunities for everybody, not just the privileged few. Together Gibraltar stands for employment opportunities for everybody. Together Gibraltar will make sure that everybody can have a house or a home. And Together Gibraltar prides itself on ensuring that mental health services will be a priority for all. So what's going wrong in Gibraltar, we might ask ourselves? Well, we've all had to face the painful reality of losing our Raspberry Bram 5 and also our Sky channels. It's been a bit of a bad couple of months for us. But when you look at it really seriously, when we talk about public finances, leaders and politicians from across the spectrum, they'll bombard you with jargon and long words that nobody understands. But there is one thing that worries me and our party the most, or at least a symbol, a ramification of bad management of public finances, and that is the very fact that we have a government that has borrowed £300 million without having consulted with Parliament or the people of Gibraltar, and has financed that loan with your housing estates. Now, that is a very worrying state of play. And because of that, Together Gibraltar would create an Office of Budget Responsibility, as Kamlesh was telling you just earlier, along the lines of the UK model, a truly independent body which is there to scrutinize government spending, because every penny and every pound of your money has to be accounted for. And Together Gibraltar would not hide any of that, because Together Gibraltar would have nothing to hide. We've been talking about the environment tonight, and as you probably realize, the environment is a big topic for us, for our political program. And it's clear to see that in a place like Gibraltar, we are so far off from where we should be in the environmental agenda. Gibraltar is such a small place, and yet it's got the highest rate of cars per square kilometer on the planet. And considering that we could actually physically walk from one side of the peninsula to the other, it's shameful that we have such a statistic. We could harness the environmental agenda in Gibraltar. We have the natural elements to do so. We could focus on renewable energies, sustainable policies that would also bring about economic opportunities and could set us as a leader. We pride ourselves in being leaders in gaming and digital industries, but the environment is something that we could take on and we could use to educate our children, and we could use to be kind to the planet and ensure that there is a future for us in this small place that we live in. For that, we would also propose a commission for the environment, which would be a cross-party body. Yes, we would force the two sides to talk to each other and work together for the sake of our community. We would engage stakeholders, environmental NGOs, engineers, people who know, people who care, bodies who understand, in order to bring about the necessary change, not just talk about it. And in order to ensure that the solutions that are found last way beyond our time in office, because it's not just about ticking a manifesto box every time and proving that you've kept to it. It's about looking long-term and planning beyond your time in office so that you can leave a legacy of development for the future. Construction. The rate of construction is super alarming, and it's something that we have to take control of. There is a serious lack of vision on construction. Apart from the fact that so much is being constructed so quickly, there is no real body that looks at the genuine overall effects 20 years down the line and how things are being planned. And it's not, apart from it being totally environmentally unfriendly, it's scary because we're not like a big capital city like London or Paris where there's always more space. We are literally running out of land. We're now building, we've been reclaiming for years, but for how long can you reclaim? We, at the same time, have to ensure that we stop selling so much land to private developers to build for high net worth individuals, which I respect, bring a lot of revenue for our economy. But at what expense? At the expense of our youth having to live in Spain because they can't come in? They must be having sleepless nights at the moment with the whole Brexit insecurity, not knowing if there's going to be frontier fluidity. We need to make sure that our people can live here. And we also need to make sure that our elderly is being thought about. You and me in the future. People aren't living with their children and grandchildren like they used to. People are getting older. People are living longer. Dementia and Alzheimer's is a worldwide epidemic. We have to ring-fence funds and take care of our elderly with funding and locations. Nobody's thinking about this. And it's not sustainable the way we're going. And we have a duty to ensure that there is a plan for them and for the future. For this, and last week we had a press conference where we introduced the concept of a commission for lands. Again, a commission which will be a cross-party body with stakeholders, NGOs, who are in the right fields in order to make sure that we have a plan for the next 20 years, that we know where we're going, and that when we build, we know why, and we know what will be built to balance that. If you build 4 buildings for high-spec offices, then you'll have to build 2 that are more affordable for something else. Or if you build 3 high-net-worth accommodation buildings, you'll have to build 2 or 3 affordable housing. There has to be a balance. Otherwise, we will lose it all. And even though I sound like a doomsday merchant now, it's the truth, and we have to accept it. And we have to find solutions, not just whine like the other parties do. We have to offer real solutions that will take us forward and beyond our term in office. Traffic and transport. Where do I start? This plan is a flawed plan, unfortunately. And not because I don't agree that obviously we need to change attitudes if we are environmentally aware and interested. But we bring consultants from abroad to tell us how to zone our parking, and we adhere to that without changing the entire issue holistically, and we expect it to work. But yet, we haven't improved the bus service or improved the bus service, and we haven't made more provisions for a better taxi service, for example, and the ready bikes. I mean, when was the last time anybody saw anyone driving a ready bike? The only thing we know is that when this government came in, they changed from blue to red. That's the only thing we know. In the same way as the strips on the road changed from blue to red when the new government came in. So that means that when we come into government, everything's going to go purple and orange, I think. Yeah. We can do so much better than that. And then, to top it all off, at Christmas time, there was an amnesty. The government said that you can park anywhere. Why? Because you can go and visit your family. Well, I've got news for you, Government of Gibraltar. Visiting family is not just for Christmas. The point... Maybe they just didn't want people to have a go at them as they were chewing on their Christmas turkey. Ay, porque el gobierno no me deja venir para aparcar, con que no sé. So anyway, the point is that, of course, changes have to be made. And I admire people who make changes that can sometimes be unpopular. But they have to be thought holistically, not in a vacuum, because then they don't work. And it's, again, not about ticking boxes. It's about making sure that the solutions actually work. On employment. I have to say, it really made me sad, as well as proud, where grassroots democracy and action come in. But sad, the reasons why. 2,000 people had to take to the streets a few weeks ago to tell the government loud and clear that their employment rights were not being respected and they were being abused for years and years working in the public sector. That is a shameful, shameful reality for a government that espouses or purports to espouse socialist values. And 2,000 people had to do this in order for things to change. At that point, we're talking about people who had been working without any conditions for years. People who were, because of that, unable to get mortgages, unable to take sick days off because they couldn't afford to, because they've got families, unable to take well-deserved holidays. Then they talk about low morale. If you can't take a holiday in 5 years, what do you expect? Unable to family plan, unable to go on the housing ladder. All these terrible effects of treating the workforce, abusing the workforce. And it took 2,000 people for the chief minister to stand right here where I'm standing now with his tail between his legs and give all these people the contracts that they so deserved. What happened? What happened to the future job strategy? Does anybody remember that? 7 years ago, this government came into office with the promise of jobs for youngsters who needed employment. 900 odd pounds. And it was a program of 7, 8 months. And that's it, they were forgotten. I'll tell you something. In 2013, when I stood for the by-election, only 2 years into that, I went knocking from door to door in the houses of Gibraltar. And I can't tell you, honestly, how many mothers told me, my son is there, sitting with the PlayStation, cobrando 900 pounds a month, and we're still waiting for a call. Eso es una vergüenza. Es una vergüenza. Unsustainable. Giving people jobs in order to secure your votes without anything to show for it. Because even anything to secure votes in that way for me is just forget it. But actually not giving them any work to do, coming out of our pockets, and at the same time crushing the morale and the potential of youngsters who were just sitting there like deadbeats with nothing to do. And when you ask about apprenticeships and vocational courses, the government will tell you that they're there. They're there. These places are there. The vocational colleges are there, but nobody knows where they are. Show me the door, because nobody knows where they are. And they continue to tell you that they're there. It's absolute madness. We need to empower our workforce not to expect jobs because son ñanito. We need to empower our workforce to be the best people for the jobs. And that is what we deserve. And that's why we have to put these colleges in place, training in place, give youngsters their self-respect, not cocoon them and shut them up with a monthly salary in exchange for political support. E-government. E-government, we pride ourselves in Gibraltar in being leaders in digital industries and technology and gaming, but you still have to go to like 20 different government counters to fill in 20 pieces of forms and 10 ID cards, and every time you go somewhere new, no, tiene que traer ID. When I took it to the other place, no, porque no está igual. No, because aren't you all connected? For crying out loud. Every different government counter is a bubble which doesn't speak to each other, and it's such a waste of time when people have jobs and people have lives. You know, it's just ridiculous. A friend of mine told me a few weeks ago that she was being threatened with court action because she wasn't paying her rates because she just couldn't get there on time, because she has long shifts and she just couldn't get there on time. And she couldn't do it. She tried a nap, what anyone in the 21st century would try and do in a Western democracy. I mean, let's not forget that developing countries are better powered up for e-government than we are. And she tried different ways, but obviously she had to go to the government counters and do the usual thing. And eventually, she got some time off. She drove all the way, because she was actually, in relative terms, quite far from where she had to get to. And when she got there was no parking. So it just took like another couple of hours. It just doesn't work. And these are little things, you know. I know they're not maybe super significant, but these are the little things that tick over the economy. The little things that keep people ticking over, happy, satisfied, and feeling like they're living in a modern democracy, which, because they're quite little, they should be solved by now. On mental health, Stephen gave us a wonderful talk, which must have been difficult and from the heart, and I thank him for that, because it's very important to not underestimate the importance, the value of making sure that our society has the right mental health services, because a society with substandard mental health services is a broken society, and it's a society that cannot advance. Mental health is crucial, and that is why tonight we have a motion on mental health, because it's absolutely imperative to put in place the right structures so that our people are in a good place mentally. Because without mental health, you can't have any health. Brexit. What can I tell you about Brexit? I've already said quite publicly many times that nobody knows anything about Brexit. And I find it funny and sad to see politicians, leaders, unelected leaders, wannabe leaders, and people who just want a soapbox saying they could have done it better. They could manage Brexit better. You should resign, Chief Minister, because I can do this better. And I know what to do, and we can get the best deal. Nobody knows anything. Let's face it. Brexit is a mess. We know it's a mess. And the irony is that Gibraltar, which was the one entity across all the voting entities that voted the most overwhelmingly to stay, has a lot more to lose than any other part of the United Kingdom. And it's a very sad reality. But we have to accept that on Brexit, the government is doing its best. The government se está partiendo la cara, trying to secure a good deal, because on that one, there are no party allegiances, there are no friends, there are no nepotism. There's none of that. We are all united in Brexit. We all have the same vested interest for it to go right. So that is why I haven't, and Together Gibraltar hasn't, caused this patio vecino ding-dong of I could have done it better. Because in Westminster, they don't even know how to do it better. So I propose, as part of our mission, that we have to stand by government on Brexit, and we have to be united, because if the international press gets a glimpse of the playground tactics that we see on the Chronicle and on GBC every day, you know, it's just shameful, it looks immature, and it doesn't do us any favors. What I will say is, and what I do probe government on a lot of the time, instead of the I could have done a better thing, is that we have to focus a lot more on contingency planning, planning for the future, genuine logistics, import and export flow of goods and services. Those are the kind of things that we have to do as much as work on these memorandums and deals. So I have to say, I believe that Together Gibraltar has come a long way. I really think in the year and a half that we've been since our inception as a grassroots political movement, we've done incredible things. We have put the Gibraltarian in the driving seat of their destiny because we have given them a voice, the voice that you deserve. We have had consultative meetings, we have had debates, we have put recommendations to Parliament. We have shown the Gibraltarians that democracy is more than just a ballot paper every 4 years. And we've also learned that the leadership of today, the leaderships, are not being listened to, and that an alternative is needed. And that alternative is not swapping a bunch of male lawyers for another bunch of male lawyers. It needs to be something different. Together Gibraltar has fresh ideas, has commitment, and has a genuine appetite for a real partnership with its people, with the people of Gibraltar. So we know that we're going to have a tough year ahead. We know that there are elections. And so it's important for all of you, for all of us, to spread the word that Together Gibraltar is the genuine, real alternative that Gibraltar needs for the future. Thank you very much.